Hi guys, Matt the Editor here, and welcome to another edition of Doctor Who Series 12 Who Editor Reviews. So, here it is. The episode of Doctor Who I was the most looking forward to, the Judoon, one of my favourite monsters of all time, making a grand return to the show. Not only that, this episode was going to be written by Vinay Patel, the writer of my favourite story of Series 11, Demons of the Punjab. I was so excited, and now here we are, Fugitive of the Judoon, written by Chris Chibnall. I know it said Vinay Patel as well, but come on, you just take a massive look at half of this episode and you can see Chibnall's fingerprints have been added all over the script. I know they say this episode was written by both Vinay Patel and Chris Chibnall, but no, this was Chibnall's story. I feel like Patel had a decent, fun Judoon story in store for us, and honestly, from the way they were promoting it and, from the looks of the first half of the episode, I thought this was going to be it. This was going to be fun. But then Chibnall got hold of the script and then decided to add some story arc elements and fan service. We'll get to that later. This was a very difficult review to cover because, man, this episode was insane. Twists, turns, surprises, reveals, and so much more. I mean, yeah, this was quite a difficult review to sort out without spoiling anything at the same time and without going into a confusion, ranting meltdown. I mean, upon first viewing, I had like a huge angry meltdown. So I'm going to try and get through this calmly as possible. Let's get to the best stuff first. I mean, I can honestly say the best stuff of this episode is the first half. I mean, throughout the first half, I was having an absolute blast, especially whenever the Judoon were around. The Judoon are easily the best part of the episode, in my opinion at least, or at least in the first half of the episode. I mean, such fantastic work has gone into their scenes. I mean, whether it is their spaceship, as I noticed, they kept to the original design, except it was in a slightly different angle. The lighting in their ships, the sound of drums throughout their music when they were in formation, even all the gadgets that they had have been updated. I mean, even the holographic messaging they transmit to the TARDIS, it looks so cool. Every time the Judoon are either in formation, marching through the streets, or getting out their technology, whether it's like the teleportations when they arrive on Earth, it's very Russell T Davies like, and even the animatronics on the rhino heads look absolutely amazing. I just can't believe how in an age of cheap makeup or cheap CGI effects, and they still use animatronics with the Judoon. I could not stop looking at how amazingly realistic the rhino heads looked, how they moved, how they talked, oh, it's so great. And even their gadgets, like, I see that they've updated their scanners, the language simulators, the catalog stuff, and becoming an actual stamp rather than a pen. I thought, oh, that's good. That's a nice touch. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear the Judoon captain had a pair of binoculars. Oh my god, it's amazing. And of course, it's great to see Paul Casey reprise as the Judoon captain. And of course, Saint Nick Briggs himself to return as the voiceovers. Just God bless those two. I will say, I was a little questionable about how this character gacked. I did question how did she manage to take control of the Judoon since they are bound to the Shadow Proclamation, but then I remembered that they are trigger-happy police for hire. So I thought, okay, that makes sense, I can overlook that nitpick. And upon her first appearance, she seemed to know quite a lot. I mean, especially the character Lee. Once she mentioned the phrase, faithful companion, and do I have to spell it out for you to the Judoon? I then thought, hold on a second. Now, we've already got the Judoon, and a certain someone made a massive appearance, so it got me sort of thinking, maybe we're gonna get something else? I mean, something, I don't know, Gallifreyan Time Lord-ish? Maybe she's the Ronnie? I mean, she's not. Admit it clear, she's not. But I wasn't that close. But we'll get to that later. Now, for the most part, the episode seemed to be a sort of crime mystery story featuring the Doctor on search for the fugitive, whilst the Judoon are pretty much storming around Gloucester trying to make sure they don't escape. And for some moments, there are some good stuff. Most of it was completely rushed, and I do wish some of the moments were filmed and edited in, just to, kind of similar to Nikola Tesla. Like, I felt like there were some scenes missing, like, where did Yaz find the box? You couldn't be bothered to show her, I don't know, maybe find the box on a bookshelf or something. You had to do it off screen. And the Judoon speaker device smashing through the window, you couldn't just, I don't know, CGI the box coming through the window or something, or just get some fake glass. I'm just nitpicking. And there are some moments in the first half in which I felt were really being rushed, but I was still having a good time. I was really having a great time. Let's talk about the supporting characters, because honestly, I mean, particularly Joe Martin as Ruth. I know a lot of people are talking about a very important thing with this character. Rewatching the episode again, and from the very first shot to where her story leads her to, actually made a little bit of sense. I mean, but before I go into that, let me talk about the character of Ruth. I mean, from the very beginning, from her breakfast scene, talking to herself in the mirror, saying, "All right, Monday, do your worst," and her walking to work was great. I really liked this character. I mean, quite liked where this character is coming from. She's a tour guide who's trying to get people to visit the church she works with, like stuff like, I can't remember which monarchy it was, but then she said Harry Potter film there, and was like, oh, and you can tell she was like, oh, no respect for the history, and just like, that's pretty funny. She seems to occasionally go to the cafe to get a coffee from All Ears Alan. I like that nickname. It was a good start to the episode. I mean, but I will admit, the reveal that she is the actual fugitive is a little predictable, which then leads to her breaking the Judoon's horns. I thought, good God, who the hell is she? We'll get to that later. What's his name? Neil Stuck. That's the one. Neil Stuck, or as I call him, Chris Jackson from Reggie Perry. Sorry. Anyway, Neil Stuck as Lee. Obviously, he's someone who has something to hide. I mean, look at the guy. He's very concerned about the box which they find, but he still cares about Ruth. However, since he is already a human, I know he was supposed to be a red herring, but still, there's some questionable lines here and there. But the more I thought about it, I thought maybe he's the same species as the actual fugitive, under the same chameleon arc thing. I've forgotten what it was called, I apologize. There's a couple of other characters here and there, like obviously Alan the Cafe, who I guess in a way it is kind of interesting how he's done like a lot of research on one of the characters, and the Judoon has used that file, which then ends up with him assaulting the officer and then sentenced to execution. The laser effects, not a fan of that effect, but it was still great to hear the line, "Sentence execution," from the Judoon. TARDIS team don't have a lot to do. I mean, Yaz does have like a few lines to show that she is an officer, but not that much. I mean, but most of the pod, they have nothing to do, and they're pretty much sidelined for the Doctor to take over the episode, and I'm really okay with that. I mean, I did mention, I think a couple of other people have mentioned, they really need to really split the team apart, just so they can be able to, focus on certain characters, I did kind of like what they did with them in this episode. I mean, even though they don't do a lot, I'm okay with, because it did lead to two interesting things. With that said, let's go into spoilers. Two really interesting things happen. Now, let's talk about the one thing I was so really amazed to that they've actually done it. The return of Captain Jack Harkness. I will admit I was a little annoyed of how all the fan theories and all the speculations, all the fans were saying they gotta bring Captain Jack back. Does Captain Jack come back in this episode? And he never does throughout the last couple of years. I'm kind of surprised that, it's now actually become a thing in the actual show, because it does lower the surprise level after all of that. But that being said, I was over thrilled to see him again, because from the moment the intercom came up, I recognized the accent. I was like, no, it's not, is it? And I'm not kidding. I literally grabbed hold of a family member's shoulder, and by the time he turned up, I screamed. I literally screamed upon seeing John Bowman return as Captain Jack Harkness. His introduction is brilliant. I mean, just one scene in, and I am so happy to see him. I mean, seeing him enter with that big smile on his face, and what's the first thing he does when he sees Graham? He kisses him. That's the Jack I remember. I even liked how he says that he has stolen a ship that doesn't have a bar after a monthly night out with some alien mates. I mean, John Bowman is clearly having the best time of his life. He's clearly missed this experience. He's so happy to be back. I mean, I even liked how he laughs upon hearing that the Doctor has changed gender, and every time he boards the companions on the ship, he's literally trying to guess who the Doctor is. That's pretty cool. And anyway, the reason he is here is that he tells the team to send a message to the Doctor, and that message is, beware the lone Cyberman. So basically, he is there to set up the series arc, and usually I would get upset, but I didn't, because I thought maybe he could come back, maybe in the series finale. He could come back. I mean, he's the man who doesn't die. He can literally come back anytime. I do hope that we do get to see more of him in order to make his appearance in that one scene really matter. I mean, especially since I'm guessing he plays a major part in the Lone Cyberman. Okay, so now there's a timeless child and the Lone Cyberman. At first I thought they better not be linked together, but at the same time I feel like they are. I don't know how, but I feel like they are. I may or may not like where this could be going, but as long as we get more of John Barrowman, I am happy. Another thing which a lot of people seem to have mixed feelings about, some people loved it, some people hate it, we find out that Joe Martin is actually a Time Lord, and that a TARDIS was hidden in the ground next to the lighthouse. At first I thought, oh, perhaps this is the Doctor's TARDIS crashed here from what happened with the Doctor and Captain Jack, and Joe Martin seems to know about it. And I also thought, oh, this could be the Rani. I mean, she's holding the gun. I mean, she's got all the Time Lord energy memories going to her. But then the moment she says, that is my ship, let me take it from the top, I was like, oh no, don't you dare. And then she said, hello, I'm the Doctor. At first I thought this is probably similar to John Morrissey's Jackson Lake, his Doctor in The Next Doctor. Someone who has absorbed the memories of the actual Doctor inside their head to make them think they are the Doctor. But nope, it turns out she is actually a Doctor. And I think people are speculating that maybe she is the pre-Hartnell Doctor. I mean, my first reaction to that was, no, absolutely not, no. I mean, especially since there was a rumor before the series came out that there was actually another regeneration cycle before William Hartnell that was kept a secret. I hope that's not real, but after some careful thinking and watching the episode again, I thought, this could work if they pull it off well. Now, on the one hand, I kind of like this. I mean, every time they do a multi-Doctor story, I like seeing how every Doctor from past or present is comparing with each other, and like how they seem to question how, why, or when they become one another. But here's the problem. Jodie does not recognize this Doctor. Fine. Gives us something to look forward to. However, if Joe Martin is actually the Doctor before Hartnell, then why doesn't Jodie remember her? I know the Doctor, and heck, even we humans do not remember our earliest memories, but even the current Doctors remember Hartnell because he was the original. Also, when John Hurt was added into the list of the Doctors, they still remember him and acknowledge his existence, but they chose not to talk about him because of what happened in the Time War. So if she is the actual first Doctor, she might not, I don't know, if she is, then why doesn't Jodie remember her? I know a lot of you are saying this is probably going to link to the timeless child thing, where the Doctor might somehow have something to do with it, which could end up rebooting the entire Time Lord's history and then possibly recreating the Doctor's entire history. Basically, retcon the entire 56 years of the show. But here's what I'm hoping. I am hoping this is quite possibly a Doctor from a different universe, kind of on the same lines as Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse, where there's all these variations of the same person, just in different styles, different worlds, different dimensions. And those of you who follow Doctor Who fan film contents have been put on YouTube, you may have come across a couple of multiverse stories. So perhaps this could possibly lead to the idea that the Doctor's multiverse might actually become canon. And I really do hope that they do that. I really hope they do, because I do hope that Joe Martin is a multiverse Doctor. And not to say I didn't like her performance. No. On the contrary, I loved it. I really loved it. I mean, as I mentioned, I did like her scene in the opening scene. But then when she becomes the Doctor, I feel like she's changed. She's really upped her game, the actress. And it was fine. It kind of reminded me of Hartnell mixed with Pertwee and Colin Baker. Are there other problems? Yeah. But my issues and compliments of this episode might possibly change in the future. Like sometimes the stuff I like would then be the stuff I don't like, and the stuff I don't like might end up being the stuff I like. Of course, the TARDIS team don't have anything to do, but to be fair, the story was not meant to focus on them. Maybe some parts of the first half felt a little rushed, like maybe the story could have worked as a two-parter, and at the point of the twist reveal, I thought, is this a two-parter? That would be amazing! No, it's just one episode, just with too much going on. Looking at it again, it does seem more like the Judoon and Captain Jack were really a plot device. I mean, they didn't need to be there, but honestly, I'm just so glad to have seen them, and I enjoyed watching them. I have to be a bit picky. I'm not a fan of the new gun ray effects. I mean, remember the gunfire in Smiths and Jones? How they looked like their body was burning up like lava before their dusty remains collapsed to the ground? I wanted to see that effect come back. But yeah, budget. You gotta protect the kids. Yeah, as much as I enjoyed the scenes with the Judoon, I think when the Doctor and Judoon do collide, I feel like there's some continuity errors. Like, shouldn't the Judoon recognize Jodie's Doctor? And shouldn't the Doctor already know the Judoon lore since she has worked with them or have been hunted by them before? Why was she looking like she was making it up? And since this episode was including some trivia to the show, why did the regeneration energy had to be kept in a glass case in the lighthouse? Why couldn't they just have a Time Lord's fob watch be kept inside the box or inside the glass case in the lighthouse? Also, shouldn't the Doctor be concerned about where Graham, Ryan and Yaz were when they got teleported? But truth be told, my biggest complaint is with two things. The BBC becoming cocky with its advertising for future stories, and the fan theories actually becoming used in the episode. I'm getting to a point where we may need to stop with both of these. The more that the BBC keeps us hyped, the more ashamed, disappointed or less thrilled some people are going to be when it happens. The BBC stupidly said to expect a massive reveal. I mean, everyone was going in saying, oh, it's Captain Jack returning. They've kind of already spoiled it for us. But yeah, you may have noticed I did not talk about Jodie Whittaker in this review. I wanted to save this for last. I do like this new turn that they're taking with Jodie's performance to a whole new level. It's given a whole new layer to her character. But I'm just going to say it, after seeing Jo Martin's Doctor, I kind of wanted to follow her more. Or at least in terms of where this Doctor was coming from. Martin seemed to bring more class, intelligence, authority towards the Doctor. Even when she needs to be funny, it's not too comedic or slapstick, it's actually naturally straight. I don't mind Jodie's Doctor. I mean, I'm still intrigued of where she's going, but I'm kind of getting sick of chirpy, fun, wacky Doctors now. I wanted to love Jodie as a Doctor ever since she was announced, but aside from maybe a couple of episodes, all the way through, she was just a happy-go-lucky child making faces at people who only go serious when she wants to and relying too much on her screwdriver, which is... It's making me tired of it now. The moment that got me with that was when she uses her screwdriver to know when the Judoon are evacuating, when she could have at least taken a look outside the window or the door. Honestly, the best Doctor performance I've seen of Jodie all the way through is from the VR game The Runaway, which was entirely animated. All that aside, I really did enjoy Jodie's performance in this episode. From her very first scene in the TARDIS snapping at her friends for asking questions, to her putting the Judoon in their place, and even to her discovery of possibly bigger truths and lies ahead of her, I'm loving how this new twist with Jo Martin's Doctor and the other female, Gat, revealing to be a random Time Lord, thank God it's a different Time Lord, and that possibly her entire past life being rewritten is being built onto the Doctor's shoulders. This is putting the Doctor on a very tight spot, and possibly being erased from history and maybe her entire life being nothing more than a lie. And that is shown when she's confronting Gat, when she explains how she has seen Gallifrey destroyed twice, and when she has to explain things to her TARDIS team, and she is scared. By the way she talks, she is absolutely scared of what might happen. But her family are willing to stand next to her when that moment comes. It was a good scene. I just wish we had more of that. So yeah, this was a mad episode to get through. And this is quite possibly the hardest review I had to make. At first, I enjoyed the half of the episode and was angrily confused with the second half. But after taking some time to cool down and watch it a second time, I actually found the other parts of the story to make more sense again. The stuff with the Judoon were fun, the twists and surprises the episode gave us with its characters range from amazing to confusing, and it does give us an idea of what to expect. Structurally, it is a well done episode. Story-wise, that is debatable. This episode is definitely going to get massive mixed views with general audiences and Doctor Who fans in general. Some who enjoy it now will soon grow to hate it, and those who hate it might grow to like it more. I'm kind of in between. This was the one time I actually gave this episode a second chance to see it worked for me or not. So overall, I did enjoy it, and I still do. I'm just going to see how this TARDIS goes by the end of Series 12 to make my full decision. I wasn't sure whether to include a score in this review, since I would like to know how this fits into the overall story arc, but for now, as a standalone episode, I'm going to give Fugitive of the Judoon 8 out of 10. Oh, that was a lot to get through. Be sure to leave a comment, like and share this video, and if you have seen the episode, what did you think about it? And if you'd like to see more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.